On today's show, we're going to go over the latest news and rumors regarding our Detroit Lions, and we're going to be talking about Emmanuel Moseley re-signing with Detroit for a one-year deal, the good and the bad for that. We're going to get into the franchise tags, what players are franchise tags, because we can't obviously get those players unless you're talking about a trade. Draft visits, who has been to Detroit, prospects, what is the trend looking like? We're going to go over that. Lions fans wanting Quandre Diggs to come back. We'll see if this is something that the Lions could do. And should the Detroit Lions go ahead and sign defensive tackle Christian Wilkins? That is what we got going on. We're going to start here with Emmanuel Moseley signing a one-year deal to come back to the Detroit Lions. Now, when we signed him last year, you got to remember that it was a one-year, $6 million deal. We expected him to be a legit number 2 for this defensive backfield, and he was injured. I think it was on the second play out for the year, and before that, obviously, he was injured for the San Francisco 49ers, and so people were wondering if he'd actually come back. But the Detroit Lions signed him to a one-year, and I'm going to assume it's veteran minimum, or really close to veteran minimum type of money. And so to me, that's not a bad deal at all when you're just talking about veteran minimum. Here's the good and the bad of that. First off, the good is if he doesn't work out, it's easy. You cut him. It's not a big deal. I mean, team players are trying to make the 53-man roster all through all the NFL, and he could be one of those players. So it's not going to cost much via cap. Also good is if he does work out, you have a bona fide good cornerback for the Lions secondary on the super cheap. And he's got a prove-it deal, so he's going to want to prove to be on the field so he can get a bigger deal, whether it be for the Detroit Lions the following year or another team. The bad is, what if he does get injured, say, halfway through the season or the beginning of the season, and we expected to use him? That would be bad. Then it'd be back to Brad Holmes signing players who are injured. To me personally, I think this is a fine move because there's no real worry, right? Like, if he's not ready to go, if he can't make the team, you just cut him. Don't rely on him. And I don't think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are going to rely that he's going to be healthy throughout the whole season. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a smart move. What do you grade this signing? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know in the comments below. Let's continue on here about franchise tags. Why is it important? Because this is free agency. So what are the players that we cannot get? Justin Madubuike, a lot of people talked about potentially the Lions getting him this offseason. I absolutely did not believe he would make it to free agency, and he didn't. Carolina Panthers franchise Brian Burns. He's been a trade target for last year as well as the year before, and it's not going to change. You're still going to hear rumors with the tag and trade. I don't think the Lions get him. Cornerback Jalen Johnson from the Chicago Bears. A lot of people wanted to get Jalen Johnson. He's going to stay in Chicago, so we got to go against him. They got a lot of money over there. They could go ahead and sign him to a long-term deal. T. Higgins, wide receiver. We're not looking for a wide receiver really right now. Same with Michael Pittman. Not worried about that. Josh Allen not making free agency. He was tagged. We all expected it. Kansas City Chiefs was tagged, but it looks like he could get traded. This is something that we got to monitor throughout this week. L'Jarius Sneed. Will the Lions trade for L'Jarius Sneed after being tagged? Tampa Bay Buccaneers got Antoine Winfield and safety Kyle Duggar. So those players the Detroit Lions cannot go after. Again, when you look at all these players, nothing really stands out except for the L'Jarius Sneed one, because there has been rumors that the Detroit Lions could trade for Sneed. If that's the case, we'll find out soon enough. It can happen pretty much anytime. You can agree on a trade anytime. Doesn't mean the trade's going to happen until the new year league starts on Wednesday. That's the tampering period, but you can get the deal done. Don't know if it's going to happen. Don't know. So we're all just going to be standing here waiting for this one for sure. But look, it seemed to be all expected. I know some of you guys may be bummed with Josh Allen and Madubuike or Brian Burns. That's just the nature of the beast. And the Detroit Lions did not use a franchise tag on anybody. Let's go into the visits that the Lions are having right now with these prospects. Christian Boyd, defensive tackle, visited the Lions. And Quan Stiggers, cornerback, CFL. as well. Here, that was the official ones. You're seeing wide receivers, Xavier Legette, Brian Thomas, and Devontae Walker. So if they don't bring in Josh Reynolds, I think you can go ahead and assume that they may draft a wide receiver. This is a wait-and-see approach. But the rest is exactly what we all expected. Offensive tackle / guard. Edge, 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 edge. Darius Robinson, a name to watch for. Braylon Trice, watch for. Johnny Newton and Kool-Aid Kinstry from Alabama. Linebacker in case. Defense, 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 and a lot of DT, a bunch of edges, and corners. That's where the Detroit Lions need to get better. And if you're worried, again, about the Detroit Lions not getting a position that we need, corner edge, you need not worry anymore. Because clearly, you're hearing the rumors and you're seeing the visits, the Lions are going to get those positions taken care of. What player do you want the Lions to draft that was on this list? Or maybe not on this list. Put it in the comment section right now. Now, yesterday, a move was made where 2 players were released, one being Quandre Diggs, former Detroit Lions safety. And Lions fans, I've been saying it already. Diggs released. Mike, you loved Diggs when he was in Detroit. I did. Should the Detroit Lions sign Diggs? Well, let's go over a little bit of what we got going on. Start right here. Quandre Diggs, 5'9", 196 pounds. Last year, 63 solo, 5 pass defense, 1 interception, 0 forced fumbles. The stats were not great. And if you look at the Lions' safety depth chart right now, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Afutu Melifonwu, and then nobody else. Why is there nobody else? Because you could have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Will Harris is also, those guys are free agents. So the Lions can get another safety. They absolutely could do that. I don't think bringing in Quandre Diggs is going to be the move the Detroit Lions would like to do. Quandre Diggs, as much as I loved him in Detroit, and I did, and he went to the Pro Bowl with Seattle Seahawks. He was my favorite player when he was a Detroit Lion. I love Quandre Diggs. I do. Doesn't make sense, really, to bring him back when you could probably just draft a safety or just get a free agent safety really cheap on the free agent market to be a backup. You got 3 good safeties right now. You do. These guys are getting it done. Brian Branch is only going to get better. Yeah, he plays nickel as well. He's universal. But that's what's good about him. No real reason to bring back Quandre Diggs. Rather get a developmental guy, a younger guy in this one because we already got our starter. So let a young guy sit back and learn. That's my thought process on this one. But maybe you disagree. So question for you. Would you sign Quandre Diggs? S for sign, P for pass. Let me know in the comments below. Now another player just came on the list that the Detroit Lions should look to in free agency. This player was considered possible to get the franchise tag, but it did not happen. He did not get franchise tagged, and is a position the Detroit Lions need. Christian Boer over there from fan side had said, how about Lions sign Christian Wilkins? Wilkins will be a big addition wherever he winds up. He has the ability to be a difference maker element. With the Lions' needs, it would be a significant move that would signal Detroit's desire to compete for a Super Bowl. Defensive tackle out of Miami, 28 years old, entering this year. You paired him up with Aleem McNeil, and you have a ferocious, scary defensive line. It's going to cost money to get a Christian Wilkins. Per spot track, average annual salary, $20.2 million, market value of 4 years, $80 million. That is a lot of money to give towards a defensive tackle. When we know we got to pay Aleem McNeil. We know we're going to upgrade more positions. That is a ton of money. And it's expected that Aleem McNeil is going to get around $17 million a year. Can you really pay 2 DTs that type of money? That's a question. You look at his stats, 65 solo tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 23 quarterback hits. It is really enticing to get a Christian Wilkins in free agency. Because if you add him and Ali McNeil, the defensive line would be sick. It would be sick. It would be good. And if you're a fan of Chris Jones, he's going to cost much cheaper than Chris Jones, but his production is pretty good. If you're on that bandwagon. For me, I think they probably go corner, whether it be a trade or in free agency for the big name. I don't know if defensive tackle is going to be in there because you can get DTs in the draft, and there's a lot of quality defensive tackles in this year's draft, and this may be the best solution for the Detroit Lions. Good cost-saving solutions for that DT is just draft or trade. But would you like to sign Christian Wilkins in free agency after hearing what it takes to get him? S for sign or P for pass? Blow up the comment section with your answer. Again, free agency is next week. Monday, it's starting the free agency tampering period at noon. I am going to be on the radio station from 3 to 6, 96.1 FM, ESPN Radio, on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, covering free agency live there. As well as I'm going to be breaking videos down when I'm not there. So to get the latest information, go to The Huge Show and hit that notification bell on my channel. With that said, folks, adios.